Okay, so we're gonna get started now. So today so far throughout the class we went over like all the topics we're gonna cover. So today's gonna just serve as like a review class. We're gonna be reviewing like all the concepts overall, like just any questions you guys have, we'll answer them. And we're also gonna go over like applications of Python, like where would you use it in like real life, what jobs and stuff like that, right? Or what projects can you do with Python? And after that, we're gonna be playing a Kahoot. So then we can just like test how you guys retain the knowledge so far, or just like a fun way of like reviewing everything, I guess. And then we'll also have some time for you guys to just ask any questions so we can answer them. And they can be like related to like anything we learned so far, or just like a question for your individual project that you want to ask us so we can help you out there. And just as a reminder, so next week what we're going to be doing is we're going to be like presenting our individual projects, right? So then all of you should have the individual projects done by next week. So this week you're probably going to have to just like add in a few more things like last details, or maybe like refine what you already have, or maybe even like code parts of it. But then I know many of you are probably going to be running into problems in the middle. So feel free to email us and we'll like get back to you in email, or if needed, we can also call you to help you out. So yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to say. So we're going to start off with applications of Python. So Sujay, do you want to share your screen? Oh, wait.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh, wait. Yes, we should go over homework first. Actually, I forgot. I'm sorry. So we're going to go over the homework first, and then we're going to go to applications of Python.
Okay, I can share my screen. I can go over the... Okay, let me know if you can see.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go over, I think there was like 3 questions on the homework, so let's go over question 1. So for question 1, it asked to create a class called animal with these following data fields and functions. So you basically just create the class animal, and then you make sure you specify all the data fields, and then you can set it equal to any default variable that you would like. And in this case, I just created like empty strings for the string variables and then 0 for the integer ones. And then the describe function basically just returns this string here. And so I know last class I used print a lot for this return, in the functions, but you can also use return. You just need to make sure you do print when you're actually trying to print it out, the output, like this. And then I just instantiated the dog, named it Buddy, and then did all the specified age equals 3, species is beagle, favorite activity is play fetch. And then if you see the output right here, it prints Buddy is a 3-year-old beagle and loves to play fetch. So hopefully you guys got that right. Now I'm going to go on to question 2. Question 2 is a very simple question about lists, so just kind of testing your basic understanding of those. And you just create an array, a list, and put these elements in the list. And then there's different ways to kind of do this. So if you want to remove the 0th, 4th, and 5th elements, you can either do pop and then put the index, or you can do remove and just whatever color you want to remove from the list. And that should print out green, white, and black like we wanted. And then the last example, make a list that contains all the states in the US and then print the states starting with the letter M. So over here, you just create this list of all the state names. And then I created this other empty list of the states that start with the letter M, and then just looped through all the indexes of the list, and then just checked the first character of each string from the list, and then checked if it equaled M, and if it did, I just appended it to this empty list, and then if you print out, you see all the states that start with the letter M. Okay, so that's pretty much the homework, and hopefully you guys were able to get to these answers. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Shrida.
Yep.
Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So welcome to the 6th week of our Python programming workshop. So now that you learned all the concepts of Python, how to program in Python, and all now let's learn the applications of using Python in different circumstances. So if you noticed in the first class, we talked to you about how different companies such as Google and Bing, they use Python for their search engines. Some cloud services like Dropbox and Google Cloud, they use it for cloud storage and all. Now we're going to get more into detail on the applications of Python. And one of the first applications of Python is web development. So web developers, they usually use Python to create frameworks for their applications. And web developers use them usually for backend development. So if you do not know what backend development is, there's a three-tier architecture for web and app development. The first tier is the front end, which is all like the visual graph, the visual, how programmers make them visually appealing to you at their website. So as you can see in Google Slides, they have all these things like file, you can share it with someone, but actually when you share it, there's another layer, the middle layer, which all the processing and logic and business rules go into that. So it basically tells you, okay, when the user clicks share, then I want to share this presentation with someone. When the user clicks new, I want to share the I'm gonna create a new presentation or a new document. And also that's the middle layer. And finally, the backend is basically connecting the web to the web page to the database. So there's a database behind this, which is where all the where you can retrieve data from that database and put it onto the front end layer. Um, and that's basically what web developers do. They basically connect the web and the database together, and it helps the application, the web application, run faster and manages user connections. So yeah, that's one way you can use Python for one application you can use Python for. Another application you can use Python for is game development. So basically, in game development, you can use Python to build tools such that you can simplify tasks such as game environment design, which is basically the design of the environment you want to put your characters in, and dialogue tree creation, which is basically a flowchart of what the character wants to say. As I'll give you an example here. This is a flowchart of what a character wants to say. So you don't look like you're from here. And then the other person says, I've lived here all my life. Oh, really? Then you must know Mr. Bowler. And now you have two options here. Mr. Bowler is a good friend of mine. And then he basically lies. So the other character says this, or who? And then the other character says, don't worry about it. Did you have something to eat? So that's basically what a dialogue tree is. It's basically giving you the option of whether you want to say this or whether you want to say, I came here from Newton, and then so on. So Python basically uses these tools to export it into to export tasks such as the environment design and dialog tree to into a format that a game engine can use. So an example of libraries you can use for game development, and I'm just going into like the surface of this. I'm not going more into depth since because of the sake of time. I'll give you a website where you can search these things up at the end of the presentation and learn more about them and possibly maybe make a project one day. So examples of libraries for game development are PySoy, which is basically a 3D game engine that supports Python 3, and Pygame, which provides functionality for your a game. the next application for Python is artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence, in case you don't know what it is, it's a pretty hot topic right now. It's basically training a machine on a data set to solve problems just like a human can. So um, let's just say you want to, there's this really hard math problem and you want to find the answers to it. And you just basically use an artificial intelligence model, that's what it's called, to train your machine with a set of data related to that math problem, so that that model can solve a problem as when it gets trained and trained over and over again, it can finally solve that problem with 100% accuracy. So two ways the machine can do this. It basically learns on past experiences with a stored data set, or it can create algorithms through which the computer can learn. So um, the, some examples of libraries in Python which you can use to create AI models are pandas, which organizes data into a tabular format, which means like a table, like rows and columns. Scikit-learn, and scikit-learn is usually used for like scientific and engineering computing, and all scientific and mathematical computing, and it's used for statistical modeling, and it's used for machine learning. ML stands for machine learning. It's another like subpart of artificial intelligence, and it goes more into depth on artificial intelligence. And then after that, there's another subpart which is called deep learning, and that goes even more into depth on machine learning. So you can search all of those up in your own free time. Again, this is only like covering the surface of it, but yeah, you can. Uh, yeah, it's a pretty hot topic, and yeah. So another application of Python is data science. So data science is a much broader topic from artificial intelligence. It's basically kind of like the same as artificial intelligence, except it covers a more broader region of um, data. And it's basically a field that uses scientific methods and algorithms to extract knowledge and insights from data. So basically, you're gonna take the data, study that data, perform some operations in order to extract the right amount of data needed to um, provide insights from that data. So um, some examples of libraries you can use for uh, data science are, as I said before, pandas is one library, and there's another library called NumPy. It basically provides dimensional arrays. You learned last week what arrays were, or lists. But now NumPy provides like multi-dimensional lists of those, which means like um, many rows and many columns. And you can use tools in order to compute those arrays and manipulate them or change them with new sets of data. And then the final library is Matplotlib. So Matplotlib provides visual graphs for the data it's given. And visual graphs are basically like pie charts, linear graphs, scatter plots. If you don't know what scatter plot is, it's basically um, uh, just give me a minute. I'll show you what it is. Actually, yeah, it's basically like a bunch of dots where you create a line of best fit. For those of you who are eighth graders, you probably have studied Algebra 1. So you would probably know what scatter plots are. It's basically creating a line of best fit based on the data you're given. Yeah, if you don't know what scatter plots are, just I'll share some website or two after the lesson's done. So just put it in the chat. The next application for Python are desktop GUIs. So GUI stands for Graphical User Interface, and basically a GUI is basically a user interface that allows the user to interact with devices that use graphical icons. So graphical icons are things such as circles, squares, all those kinds of shapes. Um, so some examples of GUIs, businesses that built GUI applications is Apple's system, operating system. As you can see in this first picture over here, uses a GUI application. So as you can see, these circles and all over here, squares, rectangles. So this is the basics of a GUI application. Same for Windows operating system. As you can see over here, you have rectangles, squares, and all as graphical icons. So that's another example of a GUI application. And basically, usually if you're creating like another app or something like that, you usually run it using your command line interface. So the command line interface, I could show you right here. Sorry. Before computers were created, I mean before like user interfaces like this web user interface were created, there was this thing called a command prompt. So or a command line. It's basically this. So suppose you want to check the date of something. I forgot how to exactly write it, but if you want to check the date, you just write like something like date, and then it'll give you a date and time of today. I think if you write something like help, it'll give you a list of what all functions there are in order that you can write in order to see things. So it was not like a user interface like this. It's just like a line of code. Let's see. Let's just type in color, I think, for now. Okay. Didn't work. Okay. I don't know why that didn't work, but yeah. So before user interfaces were created, it was all like this, so it was pretty confusing. Nowadays, you can run desktop applications using the command prompt, and it'll give you something like, say, Google Chrome. If you run it, I mean, if you create a desktop application and run it using the command prompt, it'll give you your desktop application. If you have any questions, you can just type it in the chat. Based on what all you I said so far, I'll answer it at the end of the lesson. Another way you can use Python is in web scraping. So if you don't know what web scraping is, it's basically pulling an abundant amount of data from a web page in order to aid in tasks such as job listings, listing jobs, price comparisons, whether you want to buy a bread that's low quality bread that's $2 or high quality bread that's $15, and in research and development. So it's basically taking an amount of data and parsing that amount um, uh, from the web and parsing the web page in order to extract the data. So an example of a library that does this is Beautiful Soup. It basically parses HTML documents to extract data from it in order to help in different tasks. So there are many other applications which you can use Python. As we said in the first lesson, Python is a multi-purpose programming language. It's used for many different things. It's not just confined to, okay, just web development, just game development. No, you can use it for literally anything. And some other applications which you can use it for are business applications. Business applications have their own libraries. I don't know what it like. I don't know what they are right now, but if you want, you can go onto this blog right here. I'll post it in the chat too, and you can. Sorry. And you can type in whatever you want. It's a really helpful website. And some companies that are founded by using like business by making business applications where like Google and Facebook. Google use it for their search engines. Facebook use it to create their blog posts and all. Another application of it was an audio and video application. So some companies founded that use Python were Spotify and Netflix. If you don't know what CAD is, it's basically computer aided design. And it's basically creating like models or actual products on a computer and then 3D printing it into a final design. So some companies that are founded using Python were FreeCAD or Python CAD. And finally, embedded. Embedded means like having like multiple like functions inside like a program. So some companies founded a company founded using embedded applications for Microsoft. So I'm gonna be posting this in the chat. Just give me a minute. So this has a ton of good resources. I'm giving you like the link to whatever I did just now. And you can look it up on your own, probably make some applications using that. And it's a really helpful website. Okay, I posted it in the chat. So finally, I'm gonna give you some other companies that founded Python and how they use Python. So as I said before, Google uses Python provide better search results based on like the ranking of the websites it has. And Dropbox, their server and client applications are coded using Python. Netflix, the movie service, they use ML to cluster users based on their interest on different shows and keep them longer by recommending them similar shows. The National Security Agency uses cyber security analysis, encryption and decryption work, and they're done using Python. And for NASA, scientific calculations are performed using Python, which is much more quicker and more efficient. So that's all we have. As I said, check out that blog post, search things up on your own on the different applications of Python. There may be other applications I haven't covered. So just play around with that and probably do some tutorials or courses there. There may be some tutorials and courses there. And yeah, so thank you. And yeah.
Okay, thank you, CJ. If anybody has any questions, we're going to be going over like any questions about this presentation or your projects at the end of the class. But right now we're going to do like a little review Kahoot. So if you want to just log on to kahoot.it, I'll share my screen and we can just play this game real quick. Okay, are we good to start, or is everybody on who wants to play? Okay, I guess we'll get started. Oh, that was good job, guys. Most of you got that right. Oh, that was a trick question. So basically Python uses elif and not else if. So it's just like the wording is a little bit off, but yeah, it's elif, not else if. Yeah, so for break statements, just remember that like a lot of you put the red option, which was it breaks your code, but it does break your code technically, but like more specifically, it exits a for loop or a while loop. So just remember that, like that when you're using like loops, if you want to use loops in your project and like you want to exit the loop, you can use a break statement. Good job, guys. Most of you got that. So like when you're calling functions, you put parameters inside the parentheses or something to like make the function work. Good job, guys. All you got that one. So when you use functions, you have to use the def keyword. Good job, guys. Yeah, so Python is an object-oriented programming language. It's just because like Python uses objects and stuff, so it's like another object-oriented programming language is Java. So yeah, that's like the official term for what type of language it is. Good job, guys. So we went over lists last week, and as we know, lists can store a lot more than one variable. So yeah, we use the self keyword when we're calling an attribute of classes. Okay, so this one you guys have a little bit of a longer time. So if you want to like write this down or run this in Replit or something, just take a minute to think what will be printed. Okay, so the answer to that was 6 because, let me see. Yeah, so I'm just gonna go over this real quick. So x is 2 and y equals 4. So if the first if statement says if x is greater than 3, so 2 is not greater than 3, so it doesn't go to the print x minus y statement. It goes to the next statement, which is the elif statement. So this statement, the parameter is if 10 is greater than y, so 10 is greater than 4. So then we print x plus y, which is 2 plus 4. So the answer would be 6. So good job, guys. Most of you got that. Okay, so that I think we had a homework problem one week that was similar to this question. So this is just a loop. So basically we start at 1, which is like a counter, and then we increase the counter by 1 every time after it loops. So basically if the number is divisible by 3, which like we can tell if the remainder is 0, then we print that number. So basically we're gonna print all of the multiples of 3 up to and not including 20. So like so it goes 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. So yeah. Okay, so for this one, this was lists, which we covered last week. So basically, we define the list, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It has 5 like components. And then we're going to say for X in the list, if X is equal to the empty double quotes, then we're going to remove that value. So basically we're removing the space, this item in between Mike and Emma and the item at the end. And the reason why, like in the answers, there's still going to be single quotes is because that's how it prints in lists. We did an example like that last week. So yeah, that was that. Okay, so for this one, it prints true because, so basically there's an or statement. So that means so for the first part of it, it's an and statement. So that means both of these conditions have to be true. So if we check it, is 10 equal to 4? No, 10 is not equal to 4. And 10 is not less than 2. So that means that in order for this statement to have been true, both of them would have to be correct, but both of them are not correct. So that doesn't work. So we look at the other statement, which has or. So or means that either or can be correct, and then we will print true. So X is greater than Y because 10 is greater than 4, and 4 is also equal to 4. So one of those statements is correct. So that's why we print true. Good job, guys. All of you got that. So that was pretty like easy. So basically there's just a function and we're going to call that function with the parameters of S. So we're going to look through the statements, and the third elif statement says if lang is equal to S, then we print ola. So yeah, it's pretty simple. Good job, guys. You did really good. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Okay, so now we're just gonna see if you guys have any questions, like in general, like about anything. So any questions that you guys have at all about anything you learned over the course, or any questions like pertaining to your individual project specifically, you guys can ask us now. Anybody have any questions? You can put it in the chat, or you can just like speak up, open up your mic. Okay, so we have two. When my code runs, the second part doesn't work. So how do I split it up into two parts? Are you talking about like using a function? Okay, so maybe if you email us your code, we can look at it and we'll get back to you. So because we don't know like the exact code or like what's wrong with your code exactly. Yeah. So if you want to email it to us today. Yes, the projects are due next week and you do have to turn in the code for them. We'll open up an assignment so then you guys can just turn it anytime you want. And then also next week during class, we're just going to be presenting projects. Just like you don't have to show a bit of the code, but just like show that like whatever game you made works or like whatever application you made works. Any other questions? Yeah, we'll let you guys share your screen. Yeah, you guys can just like do what we're doing right now. Just share a screen and just like show us your game and just talk about like what you did and what you used. It's pretty chill though, so don't have to like stress about it. Any other questions? Yeah, so for using random on a list to choose a random word, you do have to import random. And yes, searching it up is a very good idea because like while you're programming, there's a lot of things that you're not going to know like specifically, like for example, random. You can just search it up and then it'll show you, there's like it'll show you everything in the package. It'll show you like what you can use specifically and how you can do it. Like, yeah, like random.randint, and then you put in like the range. So like if you want a random number from like 0 to 5, then you would put like random.randint 0, 5. Right, and then if you want to do it on a list to choose a random word, then you have the list, right? And then to choose like a certain like word in the list, you're gonna like choose a random word within the limits of the list, like within the size, and then you're just gonna call to that index in the list. So it'll bring up a random word. Does that make sense? Is it possible to move one of your office hours to the weekend since my school has started? Yeah, just email us and we'll see what time works for you. And we might even be able to answer like over email if that's possible, or if we have time, we can do it in the weekends too. Okay, any other questions? Okay, if there's no more questions, then that's the end of the class. So just make sure you turn in or finish up your individual project and then turn it in by sometime this week. And then we'll be done next class.
Oh wait, I just wanted to mention real quick. So next week is going to be our last class. So we're going to be giving you guys certificates of completion if you want it. So basically, we're gonna post a Google form on our classroom. Just like real quick, just fill it out if you want one. So if you want to like request one, we're just gonna go through all your assignments, make sure that you did everything, make sure like that you got like good grades on everything, and then we're gonna email you certificates, like if you want to show your parents or your school or something like that. So yeah, we'll post that a little bit later and just fill it out whenever you get a chance.
So if you still haven't, then make sure you completed all your assignments. We'll still give you the chance now, so then you guys can get the completion certificates to show that you did complete the course. Okay, any other questions? Okay, if there's no more questions, you guys are free to go.